Hi everybody, Phil Estes here. If you don't know me, I'm an AWS Principal Engineer, a CNCF Ambassador, and a longtime maintainer of the Containerd runtime project, as well as some other open source projects that I'm involved in. But this video is about a role that I participate in several times a year related to conferences, and specifically being on the program committee for many open source conferences and events, um, reviewing the talks that come in through the CFP process. And a few months ago, I had posted on LinkedIn uh, just some of my own thoughts about the use of, or at least what I was perceiving as an increased use of AI, and specifically generative AI, when people submit their talks to conferences, specifically, using AI to summarize their abstract and pasting that into the notes to the committee, or as some conferences call it, the benefits to the ecosystem section, which is really a free-form entry field for you to describe to program committee members why you think your talk is beneficial. Again, my post was not so much about whether people should or shouldn't use AI. Obviously, we see an increased use of these tools for all kinds of things, including now lots of people using it for code and development tasks. I use AI probably every day in various ways. But my issue specifically with talk review and talk selection um, was not so much, again, whether you use or don't use AI. It was really about the way that it impacts the ability to hear the submitter's voice uh, in the talk and really understand your passion and your interest in providing information to others. So, maybe a good way to start this video is really think about what I'm looking for when I review talks, and what I like to see in submissions. And if you think about a talk at a conference, the goal is really to share information that you've learned, so that you can help others not have to relearn the painful steps you went through or the difficulties that you had to solve. You're sharing that information because you solved the problem and now you want to share that with others. And so really, I love it when I come across talks that have been submitted that really have that passion of, hey, I learned this thing, or I solved this problem, or I created this open source project to scratch my own itch, and now I want to share how it helped me solve this problem. And so again, for me, that means that I want to hear that talk sound like you, like your voice. Um, and really, I think that's kind of the biggest issue um, with AI, is that when you use AI to either generate the abstract itself, or when you use it to summarize your abstract and provide that in sort of the benefits or notes to the committee section, it really doesn't sound like you, and so it's hard to disambiguate your talk from hundreds of other talks that are submitted on similar or even the same topic or hot technology. And what we, I think I'll speak for other reviewers, is we really want to hear your voice in that, your passion about the topic. And it really makes it much more difficult because AI generates sort of an average, uh, definitely, good summary, good details, but it just doesn't sound like you, like your voice, your personality. For example, if I know a lot of the submitters, just being in these communities for many, many years. If you're a naturally funny person, then it's fun to get a talk that has some humor in the abstract or in the title. If you're a serious and technical person and people know you as that, it's totally fine that your talk submission sounds serious and technical and deep. But in many cases, AI kind of removes these this personality from your submission that makes it really hard, again, to disambiguate when we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of talks submitted to each conference. So that was kind of the main initial reason I made that post and sort of invited comments and reactions on that topic. And then again, toward the end of that LinkedIn post, I threatened to possibly make a video on this topic, and so here I am. I'm not the first to talk about these things or write about these things, and so in the notes section of this video, I'll try and link to posts that I've read over the years, good guides and helpful details about how to make a great CFP submission, because obviously I'm not the only person who's talked about this. But since I'm making the video, there are a few other sort of trends, I guess, I see in talk submissions, in CFP review, that I thought I'd hit on in the last few minutes of this video. One trend that I'm seeing is, again, acceptance rates at certain large conferences is pretty small. And so I think one intention of maybe newer speakers or someone trying to get their foot in the door in conference speaking is to just overwhelm the committee with lots of submissions from the same person for the same event. Again, I assume the intent is hopefully with lots of submissions, at least one of them will be accepted. The problem I see with that is, my perception is it seems a bit disingenuous because you have to create many talks. And again, I've seen sometimes 7, 8, 9 talks from the same person in a single event. You have to create all these different talks, the abstracts detailing different areas of expertise or different technical topics. And it's really hard to believe that a single person has expertise and deep expertise in all these areas. What I would prefer is that you find that thing that you're passionate about and come up with one really great talk idea and submit that talk, or maybe two, and really pour yourself into that one topic, because again, to me, it's hard to see 7, 8, 9 submissions from the same person about vastly different topics and really expect that they have the expertise and the knowledge necessary to really cover all those topics from an expert or well-researched, well-learned arena. So again, that's my preference would be find that area you're really passionate about, make a great talk, make a great submission, and start there. Somewhat related, but again, something I'm seeing increasing in some of the larger conferences is something I'll call sort of gaming the system, or an attempt to game the system. In this case, let's say there's a small company who's rallied around a specific open source project. They've created it, they're maintaining it. Maybe if you think about the CNCF, they're trying to get it into the sandbox or get the word out about their project, about their solution. All great things. But in talk submissions, they'll have the CTO founder, a senior DA, the head of engineering, and maybe the chief product officer will all submit a separate talk into the CFP that all are about the same topic, the same open source project, sound very similar in a lot of ways, but a slightly different title or a little different angle. And I guess, again, my perception when I see this is that your team would love to get a single talk into the conference, but again, because of the tools we use for review, it's not always easy to keep track of this kind of spread of people all submitting a similar talk. Sometimes we have to use spreadsheets to try and wrap our head around all the different submissions. And so really this makes the work of the program committee harder. And again, my preference would be that your team gets together, comes up with one creative, really well thought through talk, submits that, and hopefully, again, if it's a great talk, and it solves problems that we see in the community, that hopefully it'll get selected. But again, this is a little bit of a troubling kind of trend that I'm seeing that makes it harder for the program committee to put together a good set of conference talks. The last topic I'll touch on briefly is somewhat more generic, and it's really that in the larger conferences that have hundreds and even thousands of submissions, it's really hard to select talks that come across as generic or vague in their description of what you're going to present or what you're going to help people understand or how you're going to help people solve their own challenge in the area of telemetry or Kubernetes operation or container infrastructure. And so as much as possible, you should be putting as much detail, trying not to be too wordy, trying not to boil the ocean in your abstract about how you're going to solve all the problems of Kubernetes operations. But what is that thing that you struggled with, you had a passion about, you created an open source project to solve, and really give us a strong understanding of what it is that you can help people understand with your talk. And then, in the notes to the committee or benefits section, really use your own voice to help us understand why your talk is unique or how it helps in a unique way. Because, again, many of us are looking at hundreds of submissions with, say a hot topic like generative AI. Maybe 60% of the talks are all going to mention something about generative AI. And so you have to, again, find a way to add that sort of special, unique way that you are offering something that's more than just another talk on generative AI. And so, again, these are a handful of trends or things that I see regularly. I hope some of these are helpful as you think about submitting a talk to the next conference. There's other things that I probably haven't talked about that others have covered, so I'd love to hear in the comments pointers to other good content on creating your talk, on creating a great submission. Again, our goal as reviewers, as program committee members, is to really select the best possible talk so that the conference can be a great experience for attendees. It's not that we want to rate talks low or deny your talk. So best of luck as you come up with talk ideas. Hopefully these insights have been helpful from those of us on the reviewing side. And again, feel free to mention anything in the comments that you'd like to hear about, and maybe we'll follow on with another video. So thanks a lot for listening.